Hello everyone, my name is Muir, and this is Starsector version 0.96a-RC10. And this is the Destroyer level variant of Combined Arms. Just a quick little demonstration on how they tend to work. We have the Combined Arms Sunder, a Combined Arms Drover, then a Combined Arms Vanguard, and Gremlin. We won't be going over their builds, those are in different videos, but basically what we have is these guys, which is about 30 points, against these guys, which is about 30 points. So, let's go ahead and see how well they do. Now, because we are in dev mode, we can zoom back a bit further than you would be able to. We aren't flying the ships, and as you can see, there are quite a few ships. The pirates tend to outnumber you. So what we're seeing here is the Vanguard and the Gremlin are creating a little bit of chaos on the flanks. And, well, this guy just promptly got EMP'd and died. Because that is what this build does. That is what the Sunders are actually really effective at doing here. And this Vanguard can just slug it out with this Hound all day long. Its ability to mitigate damage is incredibly powerful. It seems like the Drover lost... No, it's still got a lot of fighters coming in. They're taking out this Hound with this Gremlin over there. And yeah, once the Sunder gets involved here, these enemy ships don't last very long. They start to get EMP'd, and then the high-intensity lasers just kill them. So it works out pretty well. As you can see, this is a little self-contained unit. And then over here we have the Gremlin. The phase ships, when you lose the phase ships, that isn't really a big deal. You're actually kind of intended to lose them. Their main job is just to create chaos, because there are two ships over here that are screwing around trying to fight this Gremlin, as this is just deathballing everything, and this is just deathballing everything to death. So this brawler is about to go down, if the Sunder actually decides to kill it. After that will be the Lasher shortly thereafter. Here comes in all the fighters. The Wasps will get killed pretty quickly, but still have damage that they have to deal with. At this point, the fight is pretty much over. There isn't a whole lot that these guys can do to really stop this from happening. What's going to happen is going to happen. After that, we will slowly work over here and clean those guys out. We don't need to sit there and watch the entire thing. We already know it's going to go one way. So, what happens when we compare that to the larger ships? Because what the frigate level sort of struggled with was taking down an Eagle. So this is 30 points, so we will just give, let's say, 2 of those for about 30 points. Alright, so how well does this work? I haven't, thoroughly play-tested all of these, so they might lose something, they'll most likely win, because Combined Arms is incredibly powerful. What I suspect is going to happen is the Gremlin is going to get the attention of the Eagle, and this Hammerhead might just die flat out, or he'll take so much damage that he will be more or less permanently trying to run away. It looks like the Gremlin is effectively getting the attention of the Eagle, which is fantastic. As you can see, the damage is starting to come onto that Eagle, though, so he is going to have to start dealing with that. At least it's going into his hard flux. The Tempest, as usual. Not Tempest, the Vanguard can kind of just soak insane amounts of damage and be perfectly fine, so it's doing great. The Eagle is fixated on the Gremlin, which isn't great for the Eagle. It's starting to take a little bit of damage, but not a huge amount. As you can see here, this Drover is currently in the back because it doesn't have... its fighters are currently deployed out here, trying to go after this Hammerhead. The Vanguard's starting to take a little bit more damage, but generally the Eagle is forced to stay with really high flux, which the AI really doesn't want, and every single time its shields go down, that high-intensity laser just shreds its armor. So this is going to be a death by 1,000 cuts for the Hammerhead, but the Eagle is going to very much suffer a fate that it can't really do much about trying to avoid. And down goes that hammerhead. So the Gremlin's going to make his way over, and as you can see, this Eagle just dumped most, if not all of its, well, not all of its tropos. It's trying. It's trying to kill that Vanguard, which is a completely expendable ship. If we lose it, then that's great, because it did its job. As you can see, the Eagle is now dead, so this fleet is more than capable of taking down cruisers. But here's the fun one. What happens if you throw 30 points worth of fighters at it? That is kind of what this build excels at to an extent. So, again, we have these two guys support the Sunder. The Sunder is on do whatever it wants, and the Gremlin is on do whatever it wants. Because really, what you would normally do, by the way, is you would have the Gremlin go basically like back here. You'd normally have it go to the sides first and then go around. And you would then have it go around the back. Alright, so this fighter spell come in. We have a bunch of bombs coming in too. And it looks like most of the fighters for our side are gone. Which is fine, but they've survived the initial alpha strike that these three carriers can do. We're going to get rid of that and tell him just do whatever he wants. Means he's going to go after this carrier, which frees up this Sunder to go and do whatever it wants. So you have lots and lots of missiles coming in, and that Drover is going to very quickly and easily clean up the enemy fighters. The Vanguard is going to be able to basically keep stuff busy, while the Gremlin slowly chases this guy around and presents a persistent threat that they will have to deal with. Got all those sweet, sweet missiles coming in. Love it. The AI is having a little bit of a problem with all these fighters. That's somewhat to be expected, but these bombers aren't going to be able to keep doing things for very long. Once this Sunder gets within range, he's dead. Conversely, if he gets within range of either of these, he's also dead. Well, the one he gets in range of is dead. So as he closes in, he got distracted by a fighter that is now dead, and, well, this carrier is kind of just dead at this point. And these guys can only really watch while their colleagues all die. Now that one of the carriers is down and we have taken no losses, not even sure if anybody has taken armor damage at this point, maybe the Vanguard, there isn't really a whole lot that the enemy fleet can do about it. Every single time they show up with their fighters just get Sora missiled to death. So yeah, there isn't a whole lot that they can do. So this works really well against massed carriers as well. So, what is the limitation of it? Well, let's try throwing it at something a bit bigger and meaner. It's worth 30 points, so let's just try an onslaught, why don't we? They will most likely lose this fight, because there aren't a bunch of them. But, who knows? Let's find out together, shall we? So we got this Sunder. They have pretty high flux capacity and other things. And, well, he's got a little bit of hard flux on there. The Gremlin is trying to go around, be a persistent menace. But I have a feeling those Devastator cannons are going to do some work on that Gremlin as he starts trying to tickle away at the Onslaught. Best case scenario is that the Onslaught's engines get EMP'd, and at that point the Sunder can sort of just slip around back and just shoot it in the engines until it dies. So if that happens, if the Sunder manages to get around back of the Onslaught, this is going to be a very one-sided fight after that point. But it still has to do that, so the Gremlin might be able to do enough damage to the Onslaught's engines to make it so that they can actually get into position. But I wouldn't hold my breath. Oh, are they going to be able to EMP that engine with an ion beam? Well, maybe. Ooh. They might be able to do it. All they need to do is get those engines taken out, and then this Onslaught is a dead Onslaught. Okay, it's doing its little charge. And that Gremlin is just doing work right now. As long as it survives long enough, it should be fine. But it's kind of not really using... It's kind of not really using its missiles and phase the way I would prefer it to use them. Trying to swarm out some of its missiles, I suppose, would be useful, instead of just sitting there taking damage. And that's probably a dead Gremlin. Thank you for your service, Gremlin. Okay, well, half of its engines seem like they may be out. But still, these guys are doing a really fantastic job against an Onslaught. Okay, there goes the Gremlin. It was a nice distraction. And there goes the Vanguard. It was a nice distraction. And I have a feeling the Sunder probably isn't going to be able to do much. Unless the fighters can in some way make it so that EMP gets through. But who knows? The Sunder might be able to get within range? No. Couldn't do it. It's not going to be able to put enough flux on the Onslaught. Unless it charges and dies, then, you know, that would be great. But Sunders are kind of made of paper underneath those shields. So, once those attacks start hitting, it's not really going to matter. But come on, Sunday. You can do it. As you can see, in a very limited sort of group, the Sunder is losing here, but imagine that there's a different group, an additional group of Sunder and Drover along with Gremlin, and they're able to dogpile this guy. So they would be able to do a fairly effective job at killing this Onslaught. But also, this is 30 deployment points. That is currently keeping 40 deployment points busy. So even if it doesn't win the fight outright, it's still effective in a larger battle, at least. And this Drover is mainly here just to clean up enemy fighters and maintain local air superiority. So yeah, without the ability to put hard flux on this Onslaught, these guys are kind of dead in the water. So we are seeing a somewhat of a limitation here. What you're seeing is ships are good at punching A level in combined arms. Per squad can punch A level above their own size, but once you go a couple levels above that, they sometimes struggle to be able to do that unless you just have overwhelming numbers. But let's say that you did have those overwhelming numbers. What happens? Wait, we need the Tempest. Oh yeah, that's the Tempest there. Oh yeah, there's the other Gremlin. We don't have that. We're just going to throw these guys out. So what happens if you do have those reserve ships that you can sort of send in? What happens then? Well, we have Hero Wolf coming in, and as long as this... And as long as the Sunder doesn't die, by the time this wolf gets over here, he should present enough of a distraction that the Sunder will be able to do some work. Because again, he's got EMP, that's what he kind of specializes in. We have another Vanguard and another Sun and a drone tender here, all of which can do some pretty decent damage in their own rights. Now the wolf here, he's going to try and sneak around back and start EMPing his engines if he can. And his Hero Sunder going to die. It doesn't look like it, actually. Hero Sunder seems like he might be fine. As you can see, and there goes the EMP. And that is a dead onslaught. Because now the wolf and that Vanguard are going to sort of come in the back a little bit and just shoot this onslaught to death. If the Sunder doesn't just do it for them, since he can't control where his shields go. Just got propulsion back, did he? And... oh. Hero, like that magic pixel is left for the onslaught. There are a few missiles getting through his shields. A few little combat drones flying over there. Is Hero Drone going to do it? And there he goes. So yeah, you would normally, if you're at destroyer level, you'd probably have other ships in reserve that you can throw out. And the ships that were destroyed, you can just pick them back up. So it's not really a big problem. But you do have these self-contained squads that you will send out, and they are effectively supposed to work with themselves. Ideally, the warship is the last thing, or the second to last thing to get destroyed. Warship, then carrier. So ideally, it would be probably your phase ship dies, because it's really a distraction that can do damage. After that, your Vanguard or Monitor dies, because it's really there to tank. After that, your carrier or your warship dies. But generally, your warship should survive fairly long, and it does a ton of damage. Alright guys, that is the demonstration for destroyer level. Hope you enjoyed, hope it's useful to you. And see you guys later.